All right, let's try this again. Good evening to you, East Alabama and West Georgia. Dr. Don in here with you. It is, it's 8 p.m. Central on your Wednesday, February 12th, 2025. And we've got some strong weather out there to talk about across Alabama and Georgia, and even some severe weather in portions of Mississippi and West Alabama. We're going to run through all of this with you over the next 30 minutes or so. Going to kind of bring you up to date. We had some audio issues the last time we were with you. I think we got those straightened out toward the end. I apologize to those of you that joined that late or watched the old version just a few moments ago, and that echo was in there. I think we have that worked out now. I'm just looking in the chat room. Don't see anybody that is complaining about it. So I think we are good at the moment. Bear with me here. Let me get the chat room refreshed so I can see what's going on in there. And we will get this party started here. I'm going to tell you what's going on. Pascagoula's in the house. Hey, Amy. West Georgia's in here. Sounds great. Thank you, Bria. All right, so we're good with the audio. And I've got some more graphics that I got that I'm going to show you in just a few moments that I think will help better explain what we're dealing with tonight. Now, you see the graphic on the screen. This has been changed a little bit. That yellow area, which is a Category 2 risk, which is a slight risk, and the green area, which is the marginal risk, has been pulled further south. The enhanced risk, or the orange area, pretty much is unchanged from earlier today. We still think that the best chance of significant severe weather will basically be along the I-85 corridor and to the south, and that will come later on this evening. Not sure just how far north the significant severe weather makes it. I'm really beginning to think that the majority of you between I-20 and I-85 probably won't see any significant severe weather. Could there be a rogue strong storm with gusty winds and torrential rainfall? Absolutely. We've got torrential rainfall up there around the I-20 corridor ongoing as we speak. So we'll show that to you here in just a few moments. So the Storm Prediction Center outlook, there's the updated version. You'll see they brought that green area and the yellow area further to the south, but that enhanced area pretty much remains the same as earlier. Here's the flood watch that's in effect, and we also have a flood warning for the Tallapoosa River at Wadley. That is in effect now through about noon tomorrow. We expect the river to make it to about 16 feet. 13 feet is the flood stage there at Wadley. So we're talking about 3 feet above flood stage. That basically will affect agriculture, land, camping locations, that sort of thing. We're not looking at major flooding there in the Wadley area. And then here's a couple of graphics I want to share with you. This is the instability as it stands right this moment. And you'll see down there in South Alabama where you see the orange colors, and then back into southern Mississippi and Louisiana. That's where the best instability is as we speak. That's where the warm air is. That is south of the warm front. That's where we would anticipate any tornadoes that may develop this evening. And then at 10 p.m. this evening, this is what the instability looks like. You'll see that it actually retreats back to the southwest, and the better instability levels will be down in extreme southwest Alabama, Mobile, and a couple of counties north of Mobile, and then also down into the New Orleans area, right across southern Mississippi. So you folks who are watching us down there in Pascagoula, Biloxi, that area of the Gulf Coast regions of Mississippi, you're going to be in a stormy situation for the remainder of the evening, at least until 1 or 2 a.m. Odds of seeing a tornado are going to be better down there than they will be across East Alabama and West Georgia. And then the heavy rain axis. Here's another graphic that I just pulled that shows where we think the heaviest rainfall totals are going to be once all is said and done with this storm system. And you can see that comes right across East Alabama and up into the northern sections of our coverage area in West Georgia. We're talking about places like Talladega County, northern Coosa County, Clay, maybe central and northern Randolph, across Cleburne County, portions of Calhoun, and then over into Carroll County. And then right along that I-20 corridor all the way up into Atlanta is where we expect the heaviest rainfall to take place. That's not to say that you're not going to have heavy rain in other areas around East Alabama and West Georgia. This is the area where we think the absolute heaviest rainfall is going to be. This is why it's important to understand how to read a map and understand where your town is located or your home is located on a map, because this is the way we tell weather. So you need to pick out where your county is, where your home is within that county, and then you can look at this map and see if you're in that area where we believe the absolute heaviest rainfall is going to end up being when this storm is all said and done. And I know that's kind of hard to see on your phone, so that's why it's a great idea to subscribe to us on YouTube and watch us on your big screen TV, because you'd be amazed at the resolution in high definition HD on your big screen television watching us on YouTube. A lot of people do that, and I suggest that if you're watching us at home tonight, you go to your television, you go to YouTube, and you look up Dr. Don's Weather, and you watch us on that big screen TV. Or at the very least, watch us on your iPad or tablet, where you can blow things up, and the resolution is just so much better than trying to watch it on a small telephone. I mean, you can do that, and I know a lot of people do, but it just looks much better the bigger you can get the screen. All right, so that is the graphics as we have them right now. Let's go to the radar. Because this is going to tell you a lot. We were able to overlay the warm front and where the cool temperatures are and where the warmer temperatures are located. And where the warmer temperatures are is where we're going to see that possibility of tornadic activity. First of all, let me take you in a little bit closer on East Alabama and West Georgia. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the radar. And we are going to, let me take... let's see here. Let me see if I can get this off the screen right quick. Yeah, I got that a little higher. That's okay. All right, so we got that time stamp out of the way there so we can see the radar. All right, so again, for those of you who are watching us, I reference East Alabama and West Georgia all the time because that is the primary area that we provide coverage for. When I'm talking about East Alabama and West Georgia, I am talking about primarily this area, from the I-85 corridor down there, well, even south of there, from Beauregard up to Auburn, Opelika, up into Lafayette, Randolph County, and up into Cleburne County, all the way up to the I-20 corridor, and then back over to Talladega, Clay County, Tallapoosa County, Chambers County, and then over into West Georgia. Primarily, we cover Carroll, Hurd, Troup, Harris, Meriwether, and Coweta. So that's our coverage area. That's when we say East Alabama and West Georgia. If I'm describing what I think the weather is going to be in those areas, if you live in that area, I'm talking about your town. Okay. So let me clear that off the screen. Right now, we have some scattered, small, heavy pockets of rain that's taking place from the I-20 corridor down into southern Cleburne, also down into central and western Randolph, and then from central up through northern Clay, and then back over toward Talladega. We have a few scattered very light showers in extreme northern Hurd County and up into Carroll County, just north of Carrollton up there along the I-20 corridor. The really, really heavy rainfall at the moment has moved on up to the north and is occurring up there along the I-20 corridor and to the north up toward Cherokee County and stretching back over into Georgia up there north of Dallas. This stuff that we see in East Alabama right now, not severe. These are just scattered pockets of heavy rain showers. Now, if we take you back down to the southwest, this is the area that we're watching for the development of severe weather. You'll see a very heavy thunderstorm taking place down there in Dallas County, stretching up into extreme northwestern Autauga County and into southern Chilton County. That is a very, very heavy rainfall that's taking place there. And in the upper levels of the atmosphere, we're seeing all kinds of things going on up in the upper levels. The setup in the upper levels, very dynamic tonight. So we've got wind shear taking place, and it's just nasty when you get up there around 5, 6, 7,000 feet. But at the surface, it is much cooler. And so we're not seeing severe weather making it all the way down to the surface, to the ground level in those particular areas. Now, when you get down into South Alabama, below the warm front, it is a totally different story. Bear with me. I'm just pulling up one thing here on the radar. Okay. All right. So we go a little bit further to the south. There is your warm front. Actually, the surge of warm air has pushed a little bit further north than this line that's depicted there on the radar. But that's basically your warm front. And right now, the leading edge of that warm air basically stretches from about Meridian, Mississippi, to just south of Demopolis, over maybe to just south of Montgomery, and then just north of Eufaula, maybe just south of Americus. You can clearly see it. Where you see the blues, that's the cooler air. Where you see the oranges and the yellows, that's the warmer air that's taking place tonight. Now, we can actually look now and tell you what the temperature is in some of these areas. I mean, look, Valley, Alabama at this hour is at 48 degrees. Roanoke up there is at about 45 degrees. Talissee's at about 53. Now let's go south of the warm front. Whoa, look at that. We got 70 degrees down here at Troy, Alabama. We have 72 degrees down here at Dothan, Alabama. 71 degrees at Andalusia. Thomasville is at 69. Jackson, Alabama is at 70. Atmore, Alabama is at 71. And even further south down into the Mobile area, we're looking at 72, 73 degrees. So we're basically looking at a 30-plus degree departure between the Gulf Coast regions and East Alabama at this hour. So these storms are forming down here in this very tropical air. And then when they get close to this warm front, that's when they're going into rotation. We have multiple tornado warnings ongoing right now back over here in West Alabama. This is near Pennington, Alabama. We have a tornado warned storm, and we have a confirmed tornado now crossing out of Mississippi into extreme West Alabama, just north of Silas or near Gilberttown or Needham, right there along Highway 17, close to the Mississippi state line. And you'll see the tag there, considerable. That means we've got a tornado on the ground causing damage. Now, that's about to move into West Alabama. That storm cell's not going to make it all the way up into East Alabama or West Georgia with the current setup, because what happens? We get the tornado to form in the thunderstorm right along this warm front, and then when it migrates on up into central Alabama, it starts to get into these cooler temperatures. And that has been causing the storms to weaken and lose their tornadic characteristics. Now, the question is, does this warm front begin to drift further to the north as we go throughout the evening? Well, if it's going to, it needs to hurry because the backside of all this has already cleared northwest Alabama. If you'll look real close, you can see the backside of the rain right here. And it is moving off to the east. Here's your warm front. And I'm going to draw it a little bit north of where they've got it on this map because you can clearly see by the temperatures it has migrated a little bit to the north. But basically, there's your warm front. It's trying to surge to or move to the north. But if it's going to get up here and cause severe weather across East Alabama and West Georgia, it's going to have to move quicker than it has been the last several hours because the back edge of all this has already cleared northwest Alabama and it's moving to the east. So that's why I don't really expect to see tornadic weather in East Alabama or West Georgia. And we're talking about this area. Now, from the Auburn-Opelika area south, could we have a rogue severe storm down here? Certainly we could. Could we have a strong thunderstorm up here in East Alabama or West Georgia over the course of the next couple of 2 or 3 hours? Absolutely we could. But I don't think it's going to be tornadic. I think we'd be looking at more of a damaging straight-line wind set up there across East Alabama and West Georgia. So I hope maybe that's cleared things up a bit. Now, we're watching this cell that's up there northwest of Montgomery. That thing looks awfully nasty, and it's certainly up in the upper levels of the atmosphere. It is. We've got mesoscale detection, pretty strong detection there. We have a tornado vortex signature on this storm, relatively strong. But we don't have a warning for the National Weather Service. That's because there's no surface-based instability in this area, and we just can't get this storm down to the ground, which is a good thing. Now, what I want to do is switch to the base velocity, and you can see there's no question we've got some stuff going on in this storm. But it's very broad. These couplets are not tight at all. There's no question we've got a thunderstorm rotating right here. You can very clearly see it here on the velocity product. And then we have another piece of the storm that's rotating down here. And the radar's looking up in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and it's screaming at us, hey, you got a tornado going on right here. And up in the upper levels of the atmosphere, maybe so. But it's not a tight couplet. It's a very broad rotation, which, most thunderstorms do rotate. We've just got cool air at the surface, so we can't get this thing all the way to the ground. That's why there's not a tornado warning on this storm. I'm a little bit surprised we don't have a severe thunderstorm warning for this one, but I'm not at all surprised that we don't have a tornado warning on it. So let's go back to the reflectivity. And I'm keeping an eye on the National Weather Service chat room to see if they're talking about this cell. Let me look at that right quick. Yeah, I don't see any discussion about that particular cell at all. I see a lot of discussion about flooding up here in the Hoover, South Birmingham area. Let's see. We got flooding being reported in the 2000 block of Tyler Road in Hoover. That's from Hoover PD. Highway 150 at the Holiday Inn. Lots of water over the road, according to Hoover PD. Hoover PD is also gathering barricades now to start blocking roads due to flooding. Highway 31 at Highway 150. traffic light is not working. So lots of reports coming in the chat room about flooding that's taking place here in Birmingham. Why is that significant for East Alabama and potentially West Georgia? Because this area is moving in this general area. So we know for a fact we have some flooding taking place over here. We're seeing ground truth reports of flooding that's taking place, and this entire area is moving off to the northeast. So this thunderstorm complex could cause some flooding issues as it moves across the eastern half of Alabama and potentially into West Georgia in the next couple of hours. And this thunderstorm cell that's in northwest Autauga up into southern Chilton County is going to rotate up into Coosa. It's probably going to make it up into northwestern Tallapoosa, southern Coosa, maybe up into Randolph as well. And while this thing is giving us, just screaming at us that we got something going on here, it's just too cool. It's moving into cool air. So this is going to be primarily a big rainmaker. As it also moves off to the northeast, probably in this general direction. Hey, Bryce Barrett. Bryce is watching us from the metropolis of Murrayville. Murrayville, Georgia. Now, I know what the next question is. Where the heck is Murrayville, Georgia? You know, Murrayville, it's spelled Murrayville. My address is actually Murrayville. I don't live in Murrayville. I'm closer to Dahlonega or Cleveland than I am to Murrayville. But it's like Roanoke. You know, you can tell someone who is a native of Roanoke because of the way they say it. It's Roanoke. It's not Roanoke. Well, you don't say Murrayville. You say Murrayville. Murrayville, Georgia. You know where that's at. You know where Roanoke's at. And then there's always such as Georgia. That's a whole nother discussion. Yeah, I've gotten that question several times tonight, Kim. Several folks have asked that question. What are the chances of the warm front moving north? And you know, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's impossible. Anything is possible. But my reasoning here is you see where the warm front's at, and you see where the backside of the weather is. The backside of the weather is already cleared northwest Alabama. So if it's going to make it up into East Alabama and West Georgia before all of this convection moves through, it better hurry. And I just don't see it happening. So just to check in on what's happening over here in West Alabama, we still have a tornado warning just west of Linden, Alabama, north of Pennington. And you'll see it's right there on that warm front. And that's been the MO tonight. These storms have blown up. They've gone severe, and then they go tornadic right there in the vicinity of the warm front. Once they move north of that warm front, they lose the tornado signature. This will be either the third or fourth storm we've seen do that tonight. And this is a monster down here coming across the Alabama-Mississippi state line just to the west of Silas. That is a classic tornado signature right there. Yeah, though the base velocity doesn't look that good, I think I need to change radar sides. Hang on. Let's look at that from maybe Mobile. Let's try Mobile. Yeah, that's a little better look right there. Still a little distorted, but I would put your tornado right in this area. Moving to the northeast. So this is going to be right there at the Alabama-Mississippi state line, right there at Highway 84, moving to the northeast. So between Gilberttown and Silas on Highway 17 is the area of concern for this possible, actually, it's a confirmed tornado. That's way over in West Alabama. And for those of you that are just joining us, these storms have been forming in this area, and then when they cross over that warm boundary into the cooler air that's in central Alabama and east Alabama, they've been losing their tornado characteristics. And we expect this storm to do the exact same thing. So we'll go back up here, and let me go back to Birmingham. There you go. And again, understand, I mean, we're talking Roanoke right now is at about 45 degrees. Wedowee is right around 47. Ashland's sitting at about 50. So the temperature has come up a degree or two. Lineville's at about 46. Anniston, 46. Rockford, about 56. Alexander City, right around 50. Lafayette, about 47. LaGrange, about 44. Franklin, about 42. So it is still way too cool to get any severe weather over here. But that wind is howling up in the upper levels of the atmosphere. I mean, look, we got a mesoscale showing up right over north of Wedowee. Now, that's not a tornado. That's just telling us we've got extremely strong winds veering in the upper levels of the atmosphere there. And I know when the leading edge of the rain moved into White County up here in northeast Georgia, probably about, 45 minutes ago, the wind was ferocious. Up in the upper levels of the atmosphere, you could hear it at the treetop level. It wasn't that bad on the ground, but you could hear it roaring. You have to understand, I live up on the side of a mountain, so I can hear the wind coming out of the south. It hits the south side of the mountain that I'm on. I'm on the north side. I'm facing to the northwest on the north side of the mountain, so I get protected for anything that comes out of the southwest. But you could hear it roaring up in the upper levels of the atmosphere when that leading edge came over, and so you're probably hearing some of that up there in northern Randolph at this hour as well. Hey, Scott Brand. Well, Deckard is wonderful tonight. You got a few showers around, but nothing severe. It's just still so cool there in Randolph County, Deckard, Alabama. Unless it warms up, I just don't anticipate anything of any great significance for you. But I will say this. We have seen a temperature increase of a few degrees here just in the last 30 minutes or so. I'm doing great, Scott. Thank you for asking. Hope you are as well. So I'm going to put a circle on the map. Nah, I don't like that. I don't like that either. Try it one more again. So this is primarily our main coverage area. That includes Chambers County, includes Dadeville, includes a lot of those locations that you guys are specifically asking about. That is East Alabama and West Georgia, as far as Dr. Don's weather is concerned. Those areas between I-20 and I-85 and east of I-65 over to about Noonan. See how we do this? That's why it's important to understand where your county is on a map, where your home is located within that county boundary, and which way's north, south, east, and west. That's the way we describe weather. That's why it's so important to understand all of that. And it's not hard to learn. So, if we have something of great concern for a specific spot on the map, then we'll be calling the name of that town. If not, we're going to use general broad descriptions such as East Alabama and West Georgia. At the moment, you're too cool in East Alabama and West Georgia, because we know everybody in East Alabama and West Georgia is cool anyway. But temperature-wise, it's too cool for significant severe weather. And when I say significant severe weather, I'm talking about tornadoes. The main line is still west of East Alabama and West Georgia, so it will come through. Is there a chance we could warm up enough to get some severe weather across the region? That's always possible. But it ain't looking likely. I mean, that's just the best way I know how to put it. For East Alabama and West Georgia. Now, I-85 and south, yeah, I think your odds are certainly better. But even down there in the Auburn-Opelika area, we're still on the cool side of things. We're still, 49 degrees in Opelika, maybe 50 down in Auburn. So it's still relatively cool here. Now, the warmer air isn't that far from you. I mean, we get into the mid-60s just north of Eufaula, north of Troy, just south of Montgomery. We've got some 60s there. So when you get into the 60s, you start getting into a little better atmosphere for tornadic weather. You really need to get up into the upper 60s or maybe low 70s before you really increase that chance of tornado weather. And that's what's going on down here in South Alabama. I mean, look at that. Jackson, Alabama, 70 degrees. Dothan, Alabama, 72. I mean, it's certainly much, much warmer down here. About a 30, 31, 32 degree departure between South Alabama, the south side of this front, and East Alabama and West Georgia on the north side of this warm front. And though we have seen a push northward, it's not moving. I don't think it's moving fast enough to warm things up before the back edge of all this moves through from the west to the east. So we have a flood, or that's a special weather statement. So now we have a special weather statement for places like Cartersville, Cedartown, Buchanan, Rockmart, Tallapoosa. This is in Georgia. White, Georgia, Red Top Mountain State Park. And I'll just read you the text of this. Strong thunderstorm will impact portions of northern Paulding, west central Cherokee, Haralson, southeastern Floyd, Polk, Bartow counties, through 10 p.m. Eastern. At 9:21, Strong thunderstorm was near Felton or 7 miles northwest of Buchanan, moving northeast at 45 miles per hour. So there's a special weather statement. Right there, just north of the I-20 corridor, just inside the state of Georgia. And that's moving to the northeast. Thank you, Alan Moon. I appreciate you. Hey, Kelsey in Talladega, Alabama. Thoughts on Troup County? Hey, Josh, if you talking right, I'll come get your logo tonight, son. I'm just messing with you. I'll get in touch with you. We'll get you fixed up. Thoughts on Troup County? Yeah, same. I mean, you're in West Georgia. I'm talking about East Alabama and West Georgia. LaGrange is in West Georgia. You're still too cool right now. Unless things warm up pretty quick, I just don't see that tornado threat being an issue anywhere across East Alabama or West Georgia. Hey, Megan. Yeah, you're in East Alabama. Same thing. You're too cool for severe weather, at least at the moment. We're watching this together to see if we can get your temperatures up into the 60s or upper 60s, and that's where you'd have to be to get some of this stuff to develop. But right now, it's not happening. You're welcome, Shannon. Salem, Alabama, down there around the Salem Auction House. You ever been? If you hadn't, you need to go. They're one of our supporters. We need to support the Salem Auction House. Yeah, right now, there's nothing going on down there in Salem, Alabama. But all this stuff you see off to the west up there around Montgomery will eventually swing through your area. Right now, you're still too cool for any significant severe weather, but you're down there close enough to that warm front where it is possible you could warm up enough down there in the Salem, Phoenix City, Columbus area to receive some stronger weather. I think it's possible. But right now, you're still too cool. Well, you bring up an interesting topic there, Ashley. I agree with you. I mean, the cooler it is, the less the chances of tornadic activity. But we are encroaching on that time of year where, of course, in Alabama and Georgia, especially central and south Alabama and Georgia, you can have a tornado any time of year, and we do. I mean, we have our peak times of the year, which is in the spring and in the fall. But there have been tornadoes recorded in both states every single day of the year over time. So you can have tornadoes anytime. But you're typically not going to have tornadoes when it's less than 65 degrees because you have to have that instability, and instability comes from warm air. So, I mean, that's just a little quick, simple weather 101 for you. But we are getting very close to that time of year where winter and summer will start to fight one another. That's called spring, and that is our primary severe weather season. Last year, we didn't have much of a spring severe weather season. I think we're probably going to have a pretty active severe weather season this year. So I think we are probably going to be spending a good bit of time together over the course of the next couple of months as we battle between winter and summer across East Alabama and West Georgia. Hey, Beverly Smith. Watching this in Alexander City. We need the rain. I mean, we've got a deficit going on. Daviston, Alabama. I was in Daviston. See, I'm trying to remember exactly when it was. Wasn't that long ago. I was at the Metro Sportsplex. Let's see. Daviston, you're in East Alabama, so you're still a little bit on the cool side to get any severe weather right now. And we do have some heavier showers and thunderstorms in the Clanton area over in Chilton County, stretching down into Autauga County, just north of Prattville, and then down into Dallas County near Selma. And that is going to work up into Tallapoosa County. And here comes a special weather statement just issued by the National Weather Service for that storm I was just talking about. Let's go down a little bit closer. And this is the first weather statement we've had for East Alabama and West Georgia. Understand this. You'll see that that's in that area where we're getting a little more warm air pushing up into central Alabama. Let me get the text of this up here, and I'll just read it to you. Well, my phone is being cantankerous. All right, a strong thunderstorm will impact northeastern Autauga, northern Elmore, southeastern Chilton, west central Tallapoosa, and southern Coosa County through 9:30 p.m. At 8:40 p.m., Doppler radar was tracking a strong thunderstorm near Mulberry, or 13 miles northwest of Millbrook, moving to the northeast at 55 miles per hour. Hazard with this storm is going to be wind gust of 50 miles per hour as it moves to the northeast. So locations in the path that may be impacted by this storm include Alexander City, Clanton, Rockford, Kellyton, Equality, Deatsville, Titus, Verbena, that's in Chilton County. Stump used to call it Verbena. Mulberry, Lake Martin, and Jordan Lake. So you can see, if I zoom out a little bit with the polygon, you can see the direction this storm is moving. So if it holds together, it will affect everybody in that path. So basically, Chambers County, Tallapoosa County, it'll probably get up into southern Clay, southern Randolph. It holds together. It'll make it over into West Georgia. So all of you folks in LaGrange asking about your weather, this is where it's going to come from. That's the part of the storm that will affect you. Same thing for Heard County. Same for Harris County. Now, you folks down here in southern Tallapoosa, southern Chambers, and Lee, that same line will affect you, but it'll be this southern end down here, so it's going to be a little longer before it gets over there into your area. And this may pull some warmer air in with it. That is one possibility. Because if you'll notice, when I zoom back out, we have that surge of warm air kind of is much further north over here on the western side of Alabama. And so as this system continues to move off to the east, it may be pushing some of this warm air up to the north and northeast as it moves east. But still, though there's a tremendous amount of lightning with this storm, And we've got some pretty strong winds up in the upper levels of the atmosphere. There is no question we got some wind with this. Let's just see. And there's some 30-mile-per-hour outgoing. Right along the leading edge, I'm seeing some 50-mile-per-hour winds. There's a 56. Seeing some 55, 56, 57-mile-per-hour winds. Let me go in a little closer before I do that. All right, there's Deatsville. That's right there on the Autauga County, Elmore County line. All right, we're catching a new tornado watch, too. Look at that. So we have a brand new tornado watch just issued for portions of East Alabama. This is going to be basically from Lee County south. It also includes Elmore. It also includes Autauga and Montgomery. That's a new tornado watch just issued. This does not include Chambers, Randolph, Clay, Tallapoosa, or Coosa. It does not, this particular watch does not include any of our West Georgia counties. So let me just read this to you. The National Weather Service has issued a tornado watch number 7, in effect until 3 a.m., for the following areas. In Alabama, the watch includes Autauga, Barber, Bullock, Elmore, Lee, Lowndes, Macon, Montgomery, Pike, and Russell. This includes the cities of Auburn, Eufaula, Fort Deposit, Lounsboro, Millbrook, Montgomery, Opelika, Phoenix City, Prattville, Troy, Tuskegee, Union Springs, and Wetumpka. Again, that watch is in effect until 3 a.m. for East Alabama. I'll zoom back out. Once again, that does not encompass most of our counties between I-20 and I-85, with the exception of Lee and Elmore. So we're going to have to pay attention to this storm now, because this is beginning to we've got a special weather statement on it. We'll see if they're going to upgrade this maybe to something more significant. We'll watch and see. But the point I was about to make is this area appears to have the strongest winds, and we're talking about 50-mile-per-hour wind gust. Understand, this radar is seeing the winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere, not seeing the wind at the ground, because radar can't see all the way to the ground at that distance. So these winds that we're seeing at about 50 miles per hour is in the upper levels of off the ground, maybe several thousand feet. But when you get the heavy rain falling through that, it will push that 50-mile-per-hour wind to the ground. And that's why they've put this special weather statement out. And it appears the heaviest wind is right along the leading edge of this, from about Titus down to Deatsville. And it's moving off to the east-northeast in that direction. So heads up over here in Eclectic. Maybe over toward Kalijah on Lake Martin, Bama Park. And if it holds together eventually, we're talking about those strong winds maybe near Dadeville back down to around Waverly. And we've certainly got a ripple in that line right there. And normally, when you're looking at a line of thunderstorms, your wind is going to be in these areas where you see that little bowing that's taking place. And we got a couple of those places along this line now. So we've got some bowing that's taking place from north of Titus down to just west of Hopeful, and then another bow from Hopeful streaming back down to just north of Prattville. And again, you'll see the radar is hollering at us. Understand the radar, again, is seeing this at several thousand feet off the ground. So it's, what it thinks is happening in those levels of the atmosphere is certainly plausible, but it's just not all the way to the ground that strong. Lots of thunder and lightning. I mean, there is a heck of a lightning show taking place with this line of thunderstorms. And again, if it holds together, this is going to be more of a central Tallapoosa. I mean, Alexander City, you're going to get some of this. You're going to be, I think, maybe on the north end of it. We'll see. But from Alexander City back down to Dadeville, Camp Hill, and then eventually on over into Chambers County. And even the south end of this, so that stretches all the way back down to just north of Prattville. That's going to work across Elmore, southern Tallapoosa County, and eventually over into Lee. So all of us are going to see some of this line as it moves across East Alabama and West Georgia. Good news, at the moment, we do not have any warnings valid in the state of Alabama as far as severe thunderstorm or tornado is concerned. We do have that flood warning for the Tallapoosa River at Wadley, and we've got 2 tornado watches, one for southwest Alabama, southeast Mississippi, and then that brand new one that was just issued for East Alabama, which stretches down into south central Alabama. So the Weather Service is confirming that US 31 in Hoover is flooded. Hoover PD has closed the intersection there at Highway 150. Weather Service is also commenting about that this is one impressive elevated supercell thunderstorm headed into Elmore County. So that's what it is. This is a supercell thunderstorm, but it's elevated. Meaning it's not reaching all the way to the ground. That cooler air at the surface is inhibiting this thunderstorm from being severe all the way to the ground. Now, the heavy rain can push that wind in the upper levels of the atmosphere to the ground, and you get those direct straight-line wind gust up to 50 miles per hour. But if we were in the 60s or low 70s right now in Elmore County and Coosa County, we most likely would be looking at a significant tornado situation. Just be thankful that our temperatures are in the 50s in the area of this thunderstorm. Look at that. I mean, we're in the mid-50s. Which is about 10 degrees warmer than it was a couple of hours ago in this area. So the temperature is coming up, but this line is racing off to the northeast at about 55 miles per hour. So there's no way this 70-degree temperatures that we're seeing in South Alabama, there's just no way it can catch up with this. So the coolness of this February evening is certainly saving us here in Autauga, Elmore, Coosa County, because otherwise we would probably be looking at a pretty significant storm that most likely would be producing a tornado right now if it was about 10 degrees warmer than it actually is. Thunder in Alexander City. Yeah, you probably, if you look out your window back to the southwest, you're probably seeing continuous lightning. I'm talking 50 strokes of lightning in the last 3 minutes. So it's pretty significant. Again, we have a special weather statement that's in effect for Coosa and Elmore County for this line of thunderstorms now moving into Rockford. In Coosa County, moving into Titus and Hopeville, down in Elmore County. I think your most significant wind with this storm is down here. And it is moving in this general direction. You're looking up here in Randolph County. You've got some moderate to occasionally heavy rain now from probably the Ava community back over toward Newell, Graham, Woodland, back toward Wedowee, all the way down to just north of Roanoke, stretching back into Clay County, Delta, Lineville, just north of Ashland. Moderate to heavy rain. Very heavy rainfall up there along I-20, probably in the Leeds area. Maybe just a little bit east of Leeds. That's the area that caused all the flooding in Hoover. That's going to continue moving off to the east. So that's going to affect you guys up there in Talladega, Mount Cheahaw. It's going to move right across Clay County. Probably at least central, if not central and north Randolph and Cleburne, Calhoun, Anniston. Is going to get in on some of those flooding rains that just moved through Birmingham. And then we have this other area that's going to move across the southern portions of East Alabama and West Georgia. Right now, primarily, we have two areas that we're keeping an eye on across East Alabama and West Georgia. This area, and then we have this. We'll call this area number 1, and this is area number 2. Right now, area number 2 is the strongest of the two, but area 1 is dumping some tremendous rainfall rates that could cause some flash flooding, and it will certainly aggravate the river flood warning that we have in place already for the Tallapoosa River at Wadley. Area 2 stands a greater chance of giving us some of those gusty winds of 50, 55 miles per hour as it moves off to the east. Area 1 moving like so. Area 2 moving like so. So you can pick out where you are on this map. And this is going to kind of show you what you can expect over the course of the next couple of hours. There is an outside chance that some of this stuff you see over here around Selma and back toward Montgomery, these storms, as they move in this general direction, south of that tornado watch box, some of these storms could go tornadic because we've got much warmer air down here. So we're talking Auburn, Opelika, Tallahassee, maybe Montgomery, Selma, south is where I would expect the better chance of a tornado or two. We don't see it right now. I mean, nothing is tornadic right now. But that's where we would expect it to happen. The strongest storm on radar at this hour, anywhere in Alabama, is the storm that's moving into Elmore County out of Watauga County. This one right here. No question. That is the absolute strongest storm. And we are blessed because if it was about 10 degrees warmer, we most likely would be dealing with a tornado right now. Folks, don't forget to support us if you can. On our last break, we got a couple of folks who threw some love our way, and we greatly appreciate it. You know who you are, and I greatly appreciate your support. And if you can, we ask that you consider supporting us. We've been doing this. Heck, we're in our 6th year of doing live wall-to-wall coverage for East Alabama and West Georgia. For those of you who've just found us, and you're trying to figure out who I am and what the heck this is, this is severe weather coverage for East Alabama and West Georgia. I spent 22 years in Randolph County, Alabama, back in the 90s and, up until 2010. I served there in broadcast radio, did a little television there for 3 or 4 years, and was in public safety, both fire and law enforcement. Served as the emergency management director for Randolph County for 5-6 years. Spent 22 years in Roanoke, Alabama. So folks got to know me pretty good down there, especially when I was on the radio, because weather was my specialty. They knew that if a storm rolled in at 2 a.m. on a Sunday morning, they could turn the radio on and I'd be there. Then I left Randolph County in 2010, moved to North Georgia, and with modern technology the way it is, I could be in Moose Jaw, Alaska, and give you this coverage. I'm very familiar with East Alabama and West Georgia. I lived there for 22 years. And that part of East Alabama and West Georgia doesn't have, in my opinion, significant weather coverage. No fault of their own. Birmingham is really not going to give you wall-to-wall coverage. Atlanta's not going to give you wall-to-wall coverage. Columbus does a pretty good job, but a lot of folks can't get Columbus because of the, I'll just say it, stupid rules that we have in place with the Federal Communications Commission. I'll probably get banned for life for saying that, but oh, no, I won't now, but I would have at one point because of the way their television markets are set up. If you live in East Alabama, you got to watch Atlanta television. Well, that's absolutely idiotic. Weather moves west to east. East Alabama needs to be able to watch Birmingham. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Had a couple things I had to take care of right quick. I'm back. Y'all got me now, right? For those of you who don't know, we are about to get fiber optics here at our studio. I think I said something about that maybe a month or so ago, but Lord, I didn't think that would ever happen, where if you could just see where we live, hanging off the side of this mountain up here in northeast Georgia, you would appreciate my amazement that we are probably, well, I know for a fact we're about to get it. I just don't know exactly when. They've already run the lines. They just hadn't hooked it up to the house yet. So hopefully within the next month or so, we will be hooked up to fiber optics, and we will be kicking it from the mountains of northeast Georgia. Should you be worried in Alexander City? I mean, you got a heck of a storm coming in there. Right now, downtown Alexander City, you got torrential rainfall, and the trees are probably bent over. Let me go look at the wind. I don't see much wind right in Alexander City proper. Now, down here around Titus, that's where the strongest weather is occurring. And I'm seeing some 40-mile-per-hour incoming wind and about 30 or 40-mile-per-hour outgoing. So we have broad rotation in this storm. Right there. I mean, it's very easy to pick out, but that's very broad. That means this is a elevated supercell thunderstorm that's rotating. That's what a supercell thunderstorm is supposed to do. But we don't have any indications that we have a tight couplet or anything making it to the ground. But in those areas where you have the very heavy rainfall, as we go back to reflectivity, you can see that where you see those dark reds and purples, that's where the very heavy rain is, and that stretches all the way up to Alexander City. It's pushing that wind to the ground, so that's why it's really breezy, especially down here around Seaman and just to the west of Eclectic and to the northeast of Deatsville. Back up here in Randolph County, up into Cleburne, you've just got some moderate to heavy rain showers moving off to the northeast. Your next big push of heavy rain is going to be in this line of storms that's moving through Talladega, about to move into Clay. But you'll see the backside of all this stuff is already clearing Birmingham. There are a few scattered showers behind it, but nothing of any great significance. So I really think north of I-85, this is going to be more of a rain event. South of I-85, some of this stuff you see back over in southwest Alabama could potentially go tornadic. But I wouldn't expect to see any of the tornado stuff up here in East Alabama or West Georgia, for that matter. Yeah, you got a pretty good line of showers and thunderstorms moving in up there in the Coldwater, Anniston, Oxford area. All of this you see up here moving in that direction. And then you have that second area, this down to the south. It's also moving in this direction. Now, the absolute heaviest of all this is down here in cell number 2, or the southern cell. We got the northern cell and the southern cell. I mean, it's a nasty ride up there on I-20 from really from Atlanta all the way to Birmingham. Not a good ride right now. Lights are flickering in Wedowee. Yeah, switching over to Atlanta to see if I can get a little better look at the wind velocities here. And you've got some, you got some 30 to 40 mile per hour winds there in the Wedowee area. Again, that's up in the upper levels of the atmosphere. But the rain is pushing some of that to the ground. So that's why you're getting some tree limbs brushing on the power lines and the lights are flickering a bit. Wow, look at that. Over here, where you see those purples and pinks, I'm seeing some 60 and 70 mile per hour winds. But understand, that's a long way from the Peachtree City radar. So this is thousands of feet up in the air where we're seeing these 60 and 70 mile per hour winds. But you can probably hear that roaring if you're listening outside, way up in the atmosphere. If you could see the clouds, I mean, they are motivated as they're moving off to the northeast tonight. And that I was trying to look at that storm down there around Titus, but that's just too far from the Atlanta radar to get a good look at that. And Montgomery is down, so Birmingham is our only option on that one. And I don't think the wind is quite as strong down here as it was. I'm in the 20 to 30 mile per hour. There's a 35. We've actually got stronger winds aloft, not at the ground, but aloft up in northern Clay. Wow, look at some of that stuff up there in extreme north and northeast Randolph. Look at that 70 mile per hour outgoing wind. Again, you got to understand, that's way up in the upper levels of the atmosphere. But that rain, when it gets really heavy, it can push some of that to the ground. Not all of it. I mean, you're not going to have 70 mile per hour winds up here in Graham, Alabama, but I think 30 mile per hour gusts are certainly plausible. That's some pretty good wind taking place up there in northeast Randolph. And that elevation's higher up there, so you may realize some of that wind a little bit better up there in northeast Randolph, Potash Ridge North. Same up there in Cleburne. I guarantee you. What was that guy that did the cooking show, the Louisiana dude? Well, he'd always say, I guarantee it. What was his name? That's going to drive me crazy. I'm going to have to look it up. I guarantee it up here on Mount Cheehaw. That wind is ugly up there at the moment. Justin. What was Justin's last name? Somebody help me out. Guarantee it. Justin Wilson, thank you. Yeah, I think that's right. I believe that is correct. There was another thing he used to say all the time. What was it? I'll think of it in a minute. Him and Julia Childs. I remember old Julia, too. Yeah, Emerald, that's not who I was talking about, though. I'm familiar with Emerald. Justin was way before Emerald. I guess I'm giving my age away, aren't I? I go back to black and white TV. Yep, that's him, Justin Wilson. The storm's passing over quickly. Well, not really. I mean, it's kind of a slow-moving front. Individual cells are racing off to the northeast. Oh, yawn. That's it. They are racing off to the northeast at about 55 miles per hour, but the line, the front, is not moving that fast. So it's going to be stormy for another couple of hours across East Alabama. How y'all are? Yeah. Eating with a little wine. Boss on. Shut up, Bryce. I was not on black and white television. I was in living color when I was on TV. But I do remember black and white. Bryce is our PIO where I work up here in Northeast Georgia. So I can tell him to shut up. William, I don't think there's enough difference between the air it's in right now and what you've got in Dadeville to make much of a difference. I mean, it's below severe limits. It's not a severe storm. All we have on it's a special weather statement. Oh, so producer Tracy wants to jump on the bandwagon too. Okay. I can make life miserable for both of y'all. Onions, shrimps, and wine. Guarantee y'all gonna like. Thank you, William. Yeah, we used to watch some old Justin Wilson. Well, I don't really remember watching JFK's funeral. I remember that era, but I can't really remember watching the funeral. I can tell you how far back I do go, though, for those of you who are in Alabama. I distinctly remember going to Montgomery, because I was born and raised in Prattville, which is just north of Montgomery. I distinctly remember going to Montgomery with my grandmother when Lurleen Wallace died and viewing her casket as it lie in repose in the Capitol tundra. And I couldn't have been more than 5 or 6, but I do remember that. Magnum, Louisiana. Yeah, they're ganging up on me, Remy. That's okay. I'll get both of them. Okay, let's get back over here and look at the radar again. and kind of bring you up to date on what we're looking at. Right now, good news is we don't have anything severe. I mean, look at the entire state of Alabama, and those colors you see on the screen, the blues and then the orange, that's the temperature difference. Because that is playing a huge role in this severe weather situation tonight. Yeah, y'all getting some thunder and lightning, no question about that. That's because of the heavy rain. The friction of those raindrops, and the rain is so heavy, that's what's causing all of that lightning. It's not tornadoes or wind, though it may be breezy and gusty at your place. All that thunder and lightning is coming from the very heavy rainfall. No. WSFA is telling you what's going on in Montgomery. That's hour and a half down the road from East Alabama. I don't think the warm air makes it up into East Alabama and West Georgia before we get the final push of all this convection through the area. But even looking down here in that 70-degree area from Montgomery south, there is nothing severe. It's just it hasn't developed yet. I'm not saying that it can't and that it won't, but we have not had a tornado warning now in Alabama for about an hour and a half. Even down in South Alabama, where we have higher temperatures, higher dew points, and we have ongoing storms down here, but they're not showing any signs of going tornadic. And then you get up here in the blue shaded areas, that's East Alabama and West Georgia. We have a heck of a strong storm in the upper levels of the atmosphere. This is a elevated supercell thunderstorm that's working across Coosa County into Tallapoosa County. And actually, it has shown some signs of weakening as it moves deeper into this cooler pool of air. This storm is not as strong as it was 30 minutes ago. So this stuff that's moving through Alexander City, moving across Lake Martin, will be moving into Dadeville in the next 10 minutes, Camp Hill. It's moving across southern Clay. It's moving into the Wadley area. That area of this storm is not as strong as it was. So we don't have any severe weather anywhere in Alabama or Georgia right this moment. And the back edge of it's clearing Birmingham. So I'm just not convinced we're looking at a significant severe weather situation here for anybody, especially across East Alabama and West Georgia. Rain and flash flooding, absolutely. Powerful lightning, yeah, no question about that. But even the number of lightning strokes overall has come down from what it was earlier. You'll remember when this storm was over here around Clanton, the radar was just covered with those little bitty lightning icons. Look at it now. I'll zoom in on it, and I can tell you there's only been 12 strokes of lightning in the last 3 minutes, and that's been up there around Daviston, back down toward Alexander City. And if you look real close, and this is why you need to be watching this on YouTube on your big screen, because you're not going to see this on your phone, those little bitty specks, those little bitty white specks, those lightning icons are bigger if the lightning strike is stronger. The smaller those little bitty specks are, the weaker the stroke of lightning. Well, 45 minutes ago, we had these bigger lightning icon symbols all over this storm. Now we've only got 4 significant strokes of lightning in the last 3 minutes. Everything else is T90. I can barely see them, so I know you can't. So that's a sign that this complex of storms that's moving into the cooler air of East Alabama and West Georgia is weakening. You'll notice that the special weather statement that they issued was not extended further to the east as the storm moved to the east. So that's also another sign that this line of storms is weakening because it's moving deeper into this cold pool of air that's sitting over East Alabama and West Georgia. I'll put the radar in motion so you can get a sense for the direction all this is moving. Nah, no doubt. I mean, it's pouring in Alexander City, pouring in Daviston. Should start pouring, if it hasn't already, in Dadeville. Southern Clay County, southwestern Randolph. It'll be pouring in Roanoke here in a few moments. Lafayette, Camp Hill. As all of this stuff moves off to the northeast. And then we have that very heavy line that's moving right along I-20 that caused all the flooding issues there around Hoover, just south of Birmingham. Hey, Mayor Donna McKay. I love me some West Bank, too. Love me some Wadley, Alabama. Kim tells us it's pouring in New Site. Oh, wow. Bryce, did you just hear that bolt of lightning up here? That's the first time I've heard thunder at my house in I don't know how long. We just had a pretty good bolt of lightning up here, too. Let me make sure I'm still streaming. It doesn't take much to knock the 2 tin cans and the string out of alignment. I think we are now, but we probably did have a little glitch there. Oh, I know. I've lost my train of thought. All right, so I'm going to go up here and look at Wadley. Yeah. So the rain, the heavy rain, is knocking on your door. Oh, you heard it through the mic. That's cool. You should have heard it at your house because you ain't that far from me. And that was a pretty good bolt of lightning. Just constant rumbling on my side of Merville. Bryce has to leave a little extra early to come to work every morning because the traffic is so bad over there. I actually thought about starting an online radio station up here and doing Merville traffic reports every morning, and Bryce is going to be my reporter. We're going to get a helicopter sound effect, and we're going to let him tell us all about the traffic jams in downtown Merville. Of course, if you get out there about the time shift change at the chicken plant, there probably is congested traffic everywhere. And Dale, I think it's probably our signal that's cutting in and out because we've got a storm on top of us up here where we're broadcasting from right now. The congestion on Claude Parks is outrageous. I'm sure it is, especially when they're crossing the cattle across the roadway there. That'll definitely clog up a roadway. Cecilia asked an interesting question. Does it concern you when lightning gets bad when broadcasting? It does, Cecilia. It concerns me because all it would take would be one lightning strike to wipe me out. And have had to battle that before. We've lost pieces of equipment, not the whole thing, but it does concern me. Not for my safety, but if it hit me just right and took out all my equipment, we'd be in trouble. I got a lot invested in all this stuff. The new roundabout, yeah. Will the storm weaken before it gets to Opelika? Well, if it weakens a whole lot more, there ain't going to be much left to it because it's well below severe limits now. I mean, right now we're talking about a good thunder shower is what you're looking at. I mean, the lightning output has decreased significantly. Let me go back and look at. I can't find any wind gusts much more than 20 miles per hour. Well, there's a 30. That's down there below Equality, down into Elmore County. The wind is much stronger in the upper levels of the atmosphere up in Clay County, up around maybe Ashland. We're seeing some 50 mile per hour winds. Maybe there's a 60 up north of Delta. So, I mean, honestly, right now I'm seeing stronger winds well removed from that line of storms. It's just not nearly as strong as it was at one time. I guess I probably ought to switch to Atlanta. And see what's happening up here in the hood. So, all right, so there's the Dr. Don Studios. We're that close to Dahlonega, Georgia, if you know where that's at. Most people do. And so Bryce is over in this area. Maybe a little further to the south. I don't have, I guess I'm going to have to put Maryville on my map. Yeah. But we're not through the air. We're probably not 10 miles from one another. Bryce, son, watch. It's not even on there. Now, I can put it on there, and I will, but I ain't going to do it right this moment. Because I've got to acquire the lat long for Maryville to put it on here, and I'm not really sure Maryville has a lat long. Yeah, but see, we got pretty good rain up here in North Georgia, too. It's nothing severe, but we may have some flooding problems up here. So, I mean, all the creeks were full when I came home from work this afternoon, and it's been raining steady ever since. So we could certainly have some flooding issues up here before all is said and done. All right, let me put it back on Birmingham. Yep. All right. So let's look at the big picture. We do have a new tornado warning down in southwest Alabama. This is near Monroeville. This is southwest of Monroeville. We have interest right here in Monroeville. And we have a, let me look at the verbiage on this. All right, so this is from the National Weather Service out of Mobile. A tornado warning remains in effect until 10 p.m. for southwestern Monroe and east central Clark counties of southwest Alabama. At 9:34, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located 9 miles southeast of Jackson, moving to the northeast at 45 miles per hour. So let me look at that on the velocity, and we're probably going to have to go to Mobile to get a good look at this. Because I was trying to look at it from Birmingham, and that was not working very well. Much better. All right, that's a pretty good looking signature right there. Got 50 mile per hour outgoing. And about 66 mile per hour incoming. So if we have a tornado in this storm, that's going to be it right there. And again, this is just to the southwest of Monroeville in southwest Alabama. This is north of Mobile. On this path, it probably would work a little bit north of Monroeville. But that's it's a pretty decent looking tornado signature right there. Let me look at the the Mobile chat room and see what they're saying about this. All right, so they're telling us that for the tornado warning in Clark County, the possible tornado will pass just north of Choctaw Bluff and move up toward Gainestown during the next few minutes. So if you're familiar with that area or you know someone who lives in that area, call them and make sure they're aware that we have a tornado warning down there just to the southwest of Monroeville, Alabama. That's just north of Mobile. And so we'll switch back to Birmingham and go back to the reflectivity. Oh, what the world? Let me try that again. There we go. And again, we have nothing severe across East Alabama or West Georgia. Very, very heavy rainfall. No question about that. You're getting rain probably at the rate of 2 inches an hour in some parts of Tallapoosa County. We're talking probably from about Dickard in Randolph County down through Abanda in northwest Chambers County, New Site, Daviston, Horseshoe Bend, Dadeville, Alexander City, Lake Martin. You're getting copious amounts of rain right now. Even up into Clay County, you're getting some pretty heavy rain, especially north, central, and west side of Clay. And then down into Elmore County, southern Coosa, still raining very heavily down around Prattville, Montgomery. but we are below severe limits with all of these storms. No warnings, no special weather statements. The only thing we have in effect right now is a flood warning for the Tallapoosa River at Wadley. And then we have the 2 tornado watches basically along and south of I-85 in Alabama. And then that 1 tornado warning to the southwest of Monroeville. That's it. We have a few flash flood warnings in Georgia along and north of the I-20 corridor between I-20 and basically Rome, multiple counties there under a flash flood warning. And a few scattered warnings up there in northern Alabama, though the rain has come to an end for the most part up here in North Alabama. All right, folks, I'm going to take a little break here. And here's the plan on our coverage. Old Seth Weaver done heard that lightning strike, Bryce. Tell you now, Seth, he going to be on top of some weather. He knows I'm live. That's the only reason he hadn't called me. Wait, let me check, see if I had a missed call. He probably tried to call me. But anyway, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take a break, a quick break. I'm going to leave the feed up. I'm going to leave the radar on the screen. And I'm going to take a quick break. And then I'm going to come back and probably go for about another 20 minutes or so. And if nothing changes in the next 20 minutes, then I'm probably going to step aside. Yet I'll continue to monitor the situation. If anything changes, I'll come right back to you. But I do have to go to work tomorrow and pay the grocery bill. So I can't go much longer unless it's absolutely necessary. And right now, it's raining like cats and dogs, and you got thunder and lightning and maybe some gusty winds, but there's nothing severe out there at the moment. And I really don't think we're going to see that develop across East Alabama and West Georgia. Potentially along and south of I-85, we could see a little bit. But anyway, so I'm going to break for just a few moments. Stay with us. I'll be back, and we'll take this to the top of the hour at least, and keep you updated here on Dr. Don's Weather. I'll be right back. All righty, East Alabama and West Georgia. And those of you in Northeast Georgia who are tuned in to us this evening. We continue with our severe weather coverage for East Alabama and West Georgia. It is 9:50 p.m. Central, 10:50 p.m. Eastern, and we are going to stay with you for another 10 minutes or so. We're just kind of watching that one stronger storm that is moving into and across Tallapoosa up into southern Randolph. It is coming a good one in Roanoke, Alabama at this hour. Just to kind of see what that thing's going to do, but you'll notice the radar looks a little different tonight because I've got the temperature profile turned on in the background so that you can see the difference in temperatures across East Alabama, Georgia, and then to the south of that warm front. Now, that purple line you see at the bottom of the radar really needs to be pushed a little further to the north. That I don't have any control over that. The computer system does all of that. But you can clearly see where that warm front is at this hour. I'll just kind of draw a line here. South of that red line is where the possibility of a few tornadoes could develop over the next several hours. North of that front is just too cool. And these storms are growing pretty strong down here in the warm air. And then when they cross over that red line up into the areas you see where we see the blue background, that's where it's cooler. Temperatures in the 40s and 50s. And, yes, lots of very heavy rainfall. No question about that. I mean, we just got copious amounts of rainfall occurring there in Tallapoosa County and up into Randolph and Clay, and now even over into northwestern Chambers. But these storms are below severe limits. Probably some wind occurring there on the southern flank of this storm, and I'll go in a little closer in just a few moments and show you that. But we're below severe limits. We have no weather warnings in effect at this hour, really anywhere, with the exception of that one storm down in South Alabama. And that is a tornado-warmed storm now that is still southwest of Monroeville, moving to the northeast. I think this storm is going to stay north of Monroeville proper. I think you folks up there in Beatrice, if it holds together, and there's no reason to believe that it won't, you folks up there in Beatrice may be in direct line of this particular storm. It's going to cross over Highway 84 to the west of Monroeville. It'll probably cross right there, which is going to be about 12 miles to the west-northwest of Monroeville, just to kind of give you an idea of what we think's going on here. You got a tornado in this general area moving to the northeast, and likely will cross over Highway 84 about a little over 12 miles to the northwest or west-northwest of downtown Monroeville. Right this moment, let me go to the base velocity and figure out, well, I can't because I've got to go back to Mobile to see it. Let's do it right quick. You folks up there in East Alabama and West Georgia, just hang on. This is the only tornado we have right now. So this is a life-threatening situation unfolding down here in southwest Alabama. So I want to spend just a minute down here looking at this. So I would this is not a real good look, but I'd put the tornado somewhere right in that area. Maybe a couple of miles southwest of Highway 84, about 12 miles west-northwest of Monroeville, moving to the northeast. And that would put it about 24 miles to the southwest of Beatrice. And we're moving to the northeast at about 55 miles per hour. So about 30 minutes away from Beatrice with this storm. 20 to 30 minutes. If you're up here in Beatrice, go ahead and at least identify, if you haven't already, where your safe place is. Go ahead and get some blankets, pillows, cushions. Take them to your safe place, which should be on the lowest floor of your home, basement if you have one, interior room, away from windows, preferably a bathroom or a closet. Make sure you've got on hard-sole shoes. Make sure you've got, get dressed. If you have motorcycle helmets, football helmets, batting helmets, anything to protect your head, your cell phone, and go ahead and have your safe room ready. And if this warning is extended further north and east, and we'll just have to wait and see if they do, then you would need to go ahead and go to your safe place. If you're in Beatrice, you don't have to do that right this moment, but be prepared to do that. Even north of Beatrice, up there, north of on Highway 21, up north of Beatrice, be prepared to go to your safe place if they extend that warning further to the north. And that's the only tornado warning we have in the state of Alabama. We have a new special weather statement for a storm that's just crossed into Alabama from Mississippi, and that's the last push. That's the last line of storms coming in, which now stretches from Thomasville down to just northwest of Jackson. Been a pretty stormy night down there in southwest Alabama. And we've seen this happen multiple times now where we get these storms. These are supercell storms that are running out ahead of the main line. And they go tornadic, and then when they cross over this warm boundary up into the cooler air, which is now situated a little further north than it was earlier, then the storms start to lose their tornado characteristics and turn into more of a flooding rain event, which is what we're seeing across East Alabama and West Georgia. I mean, just look at that, would you? That is some crazy rain that's coming down in Tallapoosa, now into western Chambers County, from about Pennon down to Camp Hill and west all the way back into central Coosa County. We have massive rain falling. I mean, 280, a no-go from Camp Hill up to Dadeville, up to Alexander City, Kellyton, all the way up to Goodwater. Just a complete washout right now. That stretches all the way up into southern Randolph County. We're talking from Franklin back down to the Lime community, Rock Mills, Roanoke, out there at Dickert, Wadley, Allman, Malone, Mountain City, and Clay County. Back over toward Cooley Crossroads, Ashland. Just solid rain, heavy rainfall. The lightning has calmed down some. Only 8 strokes of lightning in the last 3 minutes inside this frame that we're looking at right now. So lightning not as strong as it once was. As far as the wind is concerned, the strongest wind we see right now is north of Dadeville in Tallapoosa County, where we're seeing some 40 to 55 mile per hour winds right in this area. That'd be north of 280, north of Dadeville. The Buxton area. Between Eagle Creek and Buxton is where the heaviest wind is right this moment, and that stretches back even to the west of 49. And again, understand, that's up in the upper levels of the atmosphere, a couple of thousand feet off the ground, where that wind is taking place, maybe 4,000 or 5,000 feet off the ground. But you get that really, really heavy rainfall. On top of that, it will push that wind to the ground, so it could be pretty breezy in Buxton at the moment. That'll be moving on into western Chambers County. So Pennon, you got some wind off to your west. Nothing severe. We do not have any severe warnings here. They're not even giving us a special weather statement on it. But it is breezy with very, very heavy rainfall. We even got some higher winds also up here in northern Randolph, northern Clay, Cleburne County, up there around the I-20 corridor. Way up in the upper levels of the atmosphere, we got some winds running at about 60, maybe even 70 miles per hour up there along the I-20 corridor. Elizabeth, I don't anticipate severe weather for Randolph County or Roanoke. We're still too cool. I mean, it's still 45 degrees, 46 degrees right there in southern Randolph County. You go back over in Clay, we're getting into the 50s. We got some maybe 55 degrees over there in southwest Clay County. Coosa County is getting close to 60. We got some low to mid 50s in Tallapoosa. Down here in southern Chambers, we're in the low 50s, mid 50s in the Auburn-Opelika area, maybe 60 right there at Auburn. You get down there around Tuskegee, you're getting into the mid to upper 60s. That's where the tornado possibilities would be more likely. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that's where it would be more likely. Along and south of the I-85 corridor. It's still too cool up here in East Alabama to get much in the way of severe weather. So I still don't think we're looking at significant severe weather for most of East Alabama and West Georgia. Lots of heavy, heavy rainfall. Maybe occasional gusty winds and some thunder and lightning for East Alabama and West Georgia. But I think any tornado activity that may develop later on this evening will be along and south of the I-85 corridor. And the further south you go, the better the chances will be. Just reading some information from the National Weather Service, the severe threat is certainly still on the table. The warm front is still stretching across Montgomery down to about Eufaula. Montgomery is at 72 degrees at this hour, while Tuskegee and Auburn is in the mid to upper 50s. Just looking to see, and I don't see any verbiage about Lee County being removed from the tornado watch. Remy, where did you see that? Because I'm in the National Weather Service chat room with the National Weather Service out of Birmingham, and I don't see where they're talking about that. It wouldn't surprise me, but I don't see. Let me look at the data feed. Okay, wait a minute. Here we go. Let me see what this says. At 9:17 p.m., the National Weather Service has canceled the tornado watch for the following areas in Alabama. In central Alabama, they've canceled Sumter. And it says tornado watch number 7 remains valid until 1 a.m. Thursday for the following areas in Alabama: Autauga, Barber, Bullock, Dallas, Elmore, Lee, Lowndes, Macon, Marengo, Montgomery, Pike, and Russell. This includes the cities of Auburn, Demopolis, Eufaula, Fort Deposit, Linden, Lounsboro, Millbrook, Montgomery, Opelika, Phoenix City, Prattville, Selma, Troy, Tuskegee, Union Springs, and Wetumpka. So according to the National Weather Service post on their website, they did cancel Sumter, but they do continue it for Lee County. And that was at 9:17, coming up on an hour ago. And I don't see anything else in there. I'm also looking at the National Weather Service Birmingham website. It still has Lee County colored as being in the tornado watch. I'm looking at the Storm Prediction Center out of Norman, Oklahoma, who actually issues the watch, and they're still showing Lee County in it as well. No, there is definitely not a tornado warning for Camp Hill. I mean, there's Camp Hill right there. You have a tornado watch that is in effect for Lee County, which is just south of you. It's just a watch. That means the conditions are favorable. Doesn't mean there is one. But there is no tornado warning in effect for Camp Hill. Radar or National Weather Service in Birmingham is telling us that there is broad rotation in Dallas County, just west of Selma. They're also going on to say that that area has already been worked over pretty good from previous storms, so they're not really sure if that area will develop or not, but they're keeping an eye on it. It's okay, Remy. Not a problem at all. So you folks in Dadeville, you're getting hammered. You got very heavy rainfall, gusty winds. Not much in the way of thunder and lightning, though. I mean, we're only showing 2 strokes of lightning in the last 3 minutes in that area. There's one big stroke there just north of Budston that's less than 3 minutes old. There's a stroke of lightning just north of 5 Points. There's one up there in Randolph County, but you know things are calming, not necessarily calming down, but excuse me. You know things are below severe limits when you can just sit there and count the lightning strokes on the radar when they pop up. I mean, it's not like we've got hundreds of lightning strokes out there. It's, I mean, that frame you're looking at right now, there's only been 13 in the last 3 minutes or so. And you look again. There's that cell just to the north and west of Selma, near Marion, Alabama, or just to the east of Marion. That's a pretty good lightning storm. See all those strokes of lightning. It's 83 strokes of lightning in the last 3 minutes, just in that one storm. But that's the area the Weather Service is talking about that's already been raked over pretty good with previous storms today. So they're not real certain that's going to develop much more than what we've got right now. And that's the backside of all this. And again, the only warning we have in the state of Alabama right now is this tornado warning that's ongoing down in southwest Alabama. It's a tornado warning, and now probably about 5 miles to the southwest of Beatrice, moving to the northeast. So they have extended that warning to include Beatrice. So if you're in the Beatrice area of southwest Alabama, west southwest Alabama, you need to be going through your tornado plan at this moment. You need to be going to your safe place. And all the way out to about Pineapple and Oak Hill. You guys will be next if this storm holds together. And this is a singular supercell storm. Doesn't really have anything to compete with. So there's no reason to believe that it won't stay significant all the way up to the Pineapple area. So you folks up there need to go ahead and start thinking about going to your safe place. If you're in Beatrice, you should already be in your safe place. For all of East Alabama and West Georgia. That includes Roanoke, includes Woodland, includes Lafayette, Dadeville, Rock Mills, Franklin, LaGrange, Lynette Valley. You're looking at very heavy rainfall over the next couple of hours. Gusty winds, but it appears that any significant severe weather will stay along and potentially south of the I-85 corridor because of it's just too cool across East Alabama and West Georgia. Yeah, so lightning and thunder doesn't qualify to classify a storm as severe. There have been arguments for years that lightning should be considered when determining whether or not a storm is severe. And I, for one, happen to agree that there should be a threshold for an electrical storm to classify a thunderstorm as severe because lightning is deadly. There's been some discussion in recent years about the possibility of looking into doing that, but so far the Weather Service has not pulled that trigger. Just because you're getting a lot of lightning, and that is serious, there's no question about that. It is dangerous, and you do need to seek shelter. You do not need to be outdoors during a lightning storm. People are killed every year. Many people are killed every year by lightning strikes. It is not part of classifying a storm as severe. For a storm to be classified as severe, you have to have winds in excess of 58 miles per hour or hail 1 inch in diameter or larger. Those are the two things that classify a storm as severe. And of course, if it's producing a possible tornado, then they will either issue a severe thunderstorm warning with a possible tornado, or they'll go strictly with a tornado warning. Yeah, and I think the local offices, both in Birmingham and Atlanta, conferenced with the SPC earlier, and I think they did. The SPC did pull that marginal and slight risk further south, but they left the enhanced risk pretty much intact, and it does come up into East Alabama. And we have seen a surge of warm air move further north, but it just, the warm air just didn't get out in front of the cold front that's now pushing into East Alabama in time enough to get significant development of severe weather. So I'm a little surprised they held on to that 5% risk also. 5% doesn't sound like much, but when you're talking about the possibility of tornado, 5% should get your attention. That's not extremely high, but it's high enough to really pay attention to. So while I'm thinking about it, we have a date now. We're going to be at Boondocks in Wedowee on May 31st. That's going to be our annual hurricane party. It'll be our second annual hurricane party. We started that last year. We were there on June 1st. It happened to fall on a Saturday. This year, June 1st is going to be on a Sunday. So we're going to be at Boondocks on May 31st, celebrating our second annual hurricane party with the fine folks at Boondocks in Wedowee. I hope that you will go ahead and mark your calendars now and block off a couple, 2-3 hours on that day to come hang out with us at Boondocks in Wedowee. We'll be broadcasting live all day. I've already talked to Miss Tracy and Mr. Denny, and they are excited, and they're going to do, well, I'll just quote what Miss Tracy said. She said, we're going to plan this thing right this year, so there's no telling what we're going to come up with. So make your plans to come by and hang out with us. You know, I love those neck hugs. And this will be a good opportunity for you to reap the benefits of Boondocks and also put a face to the voice and hang out with us as we broadcast live from Boondocks. Again, that will be on May 31st in Wedowee, Alabama. I'll get you a time. We'll get a little bit closer to that time. Opelika in East Alabama. You're right there on that line where I think there may be a little better chance of seeing severe weather. You're in that tornado watch, but just barely. You're on the extreme northern end of the tornado watch that goes out until 3 a.m. tomorrow morning. If we're going to see any tornadic weather, I don't think it would be much further north than Opelika, if at all. I really think the better chances of significant severe would be down closer to Troy, Eufaula. But even down there, we only have one storm that's producing a possible tornado at this hour. There's just not a whole lot down there. There's your South Alabama tornado right there on top of Beatrice. Moving to the northeast. You folks up here in Pineapple, get ready. You're next. They haven't quite expanded that polygon into the Pineapple area just yet, but they probably are about to. And the back edge of all of this stuff is right there. And everything, the line is moving in that direction while the individual storms are moving to the northeast. Now understand, this is a tornadic thunderstorm, supercell thunderstorm. But look, it's down here in all this warm, moist air. Temperatures are in the 70s down here. When you cross over that pink line and get up into this blue area in East Alabama and West Georgia, temperatures are in the 40s and 50s. Well, you need temperatures at least 65 degrees or in most cases, you need temperatures 65 and up to really support a supercell thunderstorm, tornado-producing storm to the ground. And while we have seen a surge to the north with the warm air, it didn't make it up there before the line moved through. It's kind of pulling in behind it. So I still just don't think we're going to look at significant severe weather across East Alabama. I mean, the back end of all this stuff has already cleared Birmingham. And it will continue moving off to the east. So it's a slow-moving storm system. I mean, we're probably looking at least another 2 hours of showers and thunder showers across East Alabama before that back edge makes it into that area. But I just think the warm air just didn't make it far enough north to get any good development across East Alabama and West Georgia. And I'm saying that like it's a bad thing, but you have to understand, we're weather people. We do that. I don't mean it that way. It's a good thing that we didn't have or have not had any significant severe weather across East Alabama and West Georgia. Now, the rain and showers and thunderstorms that we have out there certainly seem severe because they are packing quite a punch, but they are below severe limits. And I'm primarily talking about this area. It's currently in East Alabama and about to move into West Georgia. Heavy rainfall in Randolph, now from Roanoke south across northern and northwestern Chambers back into Tallapoosa County. Conditions improving a little bit over here in Alexander City. It's not as broad of an area as it was at one time. We still have this stuff back in Chilton County and down into Autauga County. That's the backside of all this, and that's going to rotate through this area as well. I'll show you something interesting right here on the radar. Let me go down a little closer to Chambers County. All right, you'll notice. Let me turn the radar off for just a second. Okay. All right, so you see all the blue. That's where the cooler temperatures are. And then you'll see the yellows and the tans. That's where the warmer areas, okay? And I drew a line there that shows the division between the two. Let me turn the radar back on. Now, what I want you to notice, I'm going to have to let this load up right quick. And I may, okay, there it is right there. Right there. I want you to notice right there along the division line between the cool air and the warm air, this little hook that tried to form, a little bitty bow echo right there that tried to form along that line. That was just one volume scan. If I take it to the next volume scan, maybe two volume scans, it's gone. So we had an inflow notch that was trying to get going right here, but this part of the storm has now moved into the cooler air, and it just couldn't sustain itself. So we didn't get any further development out of that storm. That's just kind of a little interesting, very easy to spot loop right there. At least for weather geeks anyway, which I happen to be. And we're beginning to get a little bit of a hook down here near Bama Park. But you'll see when that gets over here into the blues, that's going to go away. And all that means is we got a little bit of instability down here, and we've got an inflow trying to go back into the storm to feed the storm. It doesn't mean anything's developing there. But if we had, 70, if the temperature was 70, 75 degrees all across East Alabama, then these areas would be the areas we would be watching for the possible formation of severe weather. But by the time they start taking on that look and they get up here into the cooler temperatures, it goes away. Yeah, Daviston, you're up there on the north end, and all that red means is heavy rain. That's all it means. And you're on the north end of that. The really absolute heaviest rain is well south of you. I mean, I know it's heavily raining up there in Daviston, but it's raining even heavier down here in this area of the storm to the south. And you're up here, and it's really coming down there around Dadeville. Okay, so I said I was going to take you to the top of the hour. It's now the bottom of the hour, so that always happens. I always have a plan of, I'd stay here with you all night long, and I will if I think it's necessary, but at the moment it's not necessary. And I do have a daytime job, and I do have to be there in the morning, and I am an hour ahead of you guys. So I'm going to step aside now and go into a monitoring mode. At the moment, we have no severe weather warnings anywhere across East Alabama or West Georgia. We do have a tornado watch that starts down in Lee County and goes south. And at the moment, we only have one tornado warning in the state, and that is down there in southwest Alabama, now north of Monroeville, moving off to the northeast, coming up on Pineapple. Of course, that's way outside of our coverage area. So I'm going to monitor this. And if something were to change and we start to see severe weather impacting East Alabama or West Georgia, then I'll be right back with you. And we'll continue with live coverage. Typically, our threshold to do live coverage is at least a watch. Well, right now, we only have one county in our coverage area that's under a watch. And I really think that if there's going to be severe weather, it's going to be south of the I-85 corridor. So just the southern, maybe the southern half of one county could legitimately see, a severe thunderstorm or possibly even a tornado threat later on. So we're going to watch that. We'll keep a monitor on it. And if we think we need to come back and continue with coverage, then we certainly will. If not, probably won't have a primetime forecast in the morning because I'm going to have to squeeze out every moment of sleep I possibly can. I normally rise at about 4:45 every morning, my time. That's about 3:45 Alabama time to get your primetime forecast out every morning before I have to go to work and do my 8 to 12 hours, my daytime job. So probably not going to do a prime time in the morning because weather will be fine tomorrow. Thursday and Friday will be two pretty decent days, and we'll cloud up again Friday afternoon. And we may have some more rain move in here Friday night, and we may have to go through another severe weather event Saturday afternoon into Saturday night. And potentially the next opportunity could be a little more significant than this one has been so far. So I'll have more information about that. We'll be a little bit closer to that event on Friday morning, and I'll certainly be back in here Friday morning with a primetime forecast. So unless something changes, I'll see you back in here Friday morning. We'll talk about the severe weather possibilities on Saturday afternoon into Saturday night, and then we're going to get much colder next week. Winter is coming back. And there is also maybe a little mischief cooking out there toward the middle of next week, latter part of next week. I've seen a few models that's suggesting the S word, especially for North Alabama and North Georgia. I didn't see that much evidence down into East Alabama or West Georgia, but got to understand, that's, as James Spann says, that's out there in voodoo land, way too far out. But we know it's going to turn cold again next week. So anytime it turns cold this time of year, there's always that possibility we could get a little something going on. So I'll have more information about that by Friday as well. Just noticing the Weather Service is issuing flood warnings all along this back line that will be the final push as it moves into East Alabama. So that's very heavy rainfall. And as long as you have very, very heavy rainfall, and as much as we've already received, that also helps stabilize the atmosphere and will continue to keep that tornado threat at a very low level for East Alabama and West Georgia. But so Clanton, Billingsley, Selma, all now under flood warnings, flash flood warnings in those areas. And it wouldn't surprise me at all to see the same thing happen over here in East Alabama. It wouldn't surprise me at all to see some of our East Alabama counties go under a flash flood warning pretty much at any time, but certainly by the time the back edge of this starts to move through in another hour or so. And here's the good news. We've lost that tornado warning down in South Alabama. So that's good. That storm was severe for an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and was holding together pretty good. That was a supercell thunderstorm. But that's a good sign. It's no longer being warned. There's no warning at all. So at the moment, we have no warnings in the state of Alabama other than the flash flood warning that was just issued. So no tornado or severe thunderstorm warnings anywhere in Alabama or Georgia at this hour. So with that, I'm out of here. Good Lord willing, the creek don't rise. I'll see you back in here on Friday morning with your primetime forecast. And please support us when you can. We depend on you to keep us streaming here on Dr. Don's Weather. Y'all have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday night, and I'll see you Friday morning. Be safe out there.